So I had some time to chat with Matt and Stephanie, my fellow teammates who will be dialoguing with you today, and I just want to thank them. And then to Wisconsin Lutheran College, thank you for being so hospitable to each and every one of us. So, 5 eclectic women and Jesuits. What's this going to be about? I was raised by a cadre of women, 5 very eclectic women. They were my bedrock. My immigrant Polish Busha, she got out of an abusive relationship and was a cleaning woman to support her family. She didn't drive. She went to church daily and sunned her knees to soothe her arthritis through the years. She died very peacefully praying the rosary. My Irish grandma, she was the school secretary in a grammar school, and she frankly, at the age of 80, learned to shed her prejudice about other cultures and went on for 15 more years enjoying life with this really newfound understanding. Aunt Rita, who was really not an aunt, she was a second cousin, my Irish grandma's first cousin, and she would have back then been called a matron, right? You know, someone who wasn't married, who maybe had a love at one point, and she was someone you could always count on, someone who was there for a laugh or an Irish zinger. My mom, she was pretty gritty. Her dad told her, you can either be a nurse or you can be a teacher. So just to confuse them, she decided to be a psychiatric nurse. And in that work, in that career, she had such diversity of friends. It was just incredible. She died in her 50s after a pretty tough life, actually. And my stepmom, the 5th of these amazing women, was an East Coast intellect, had a bazillion degrees, and then finally found her calling as a children's hospital chaplain, and then later in life with her master's as a therapist into her 70s. She died just recently, suddenly, from a seizure. So from all those amazing women, I learned that being present is much more important than being perfect. You've probably heard about Brené Brown, the researcher and storyteller. She talks often about vulnerability. There's a great TED Talk out there about it. She has this quote about imperfections are not inadequacies. They are reminders that we're all in this together. So how do I apply this concept of presence, not perfection? At home, I've helped raise 3 step kiddos full-time. Their mom passed away, and we also fostered our niece. And I know in my interactions with all those kiddos who are now all young adults, I was never perfect. I probably didn't meet their needs when they needed me to meet their needs, but I didn't stop trying. And I really am still trying to learn from every situation. And this is true with my husband as well. I would say our process isn't always the same, but what we tend to agree on is outcome. So again, sort of being present, not being perfect. In my work life and my volunteer life, I've learned to really practice incremental diligence. So, you know the whole story of the tortoise and the hare? I think I've decided I'm the tortoise. Just the stick-to-itness at work and at home and in my volunteer work. Over the time, I guess I've slowly learned to say, I don't know. I made that mistake. It's hard to say sometimes. How can I support you? How do you actually need me to meet your needs? So those eclectic women, they also taught me to love myself, and it's tough, and you've got to do it day in and day out. It's a daily habit. I was a heavy-set teen and kiddo. I had a middle part when it wasn't cool to have a middle part. And my family, in their very, very subtle ways, loved me so mightily. And really, they have taught me to do the same for myself and for others. So where can we employ these things at work? There's this woman, Dina Smith. She's an executive coach out there. She's published a few Harvard Business Review articles. She has an article out there about the emotional labor of being a leader and how to manage it. She talks much about promoting self-compassion from the top down. Research confirms that leaders who practice self-compassion have higher emotional intelligence, have higher resiliency, and higher integrity. In short, they're just better leaders. So, at home, we've all had our ups and downs and our failures, and we need to learn from those and take that experience forward. And I think if we practice self-love, self-compassion, both at home and at work, we can be stronger, better community members. And self-love isn't about having a huge sense of self. It's really about loving yourself and forgiving yourself, because if you don't start there, you can't be available to others. Which leads me to this concept of blessed dissatisfaction. When I graduated from grad school, my commencement speaker was a man named Brian Massengale. He's a theologian from Fordham University. And he had this whole concept about blessed dissatisfaction. It really resonated for me. And it's about sort of evolving, striving. And I think the way you can think about this at work is, okay, we've made a mistake, team. I have your back 150%. So now what are we going to learn from this? And at home, if it wasn't if my stepdaughter didn't get the interaction she needed from me, how can I show up better for her, right? Blessed dissatisfaction is always striving, how can I be better at what I'm supposed to be doing for this world? And of course, blessed dissatisfaction creates some blind spots. So for me at the office, it is not celebrating our successes as a team. I know that is my biggest downfall. And at home, it's always overanalyzing. Did I do that right? What was that? When she said that to me, what did that mean? So that leads me sort of to the next place, the Jesuits. You're wondering, when were those Jesuits going to come in here? The Examen. So St. Ignatius, he was the founder of the Jesuit order. He had this concept of the Examen, reflecting on our day. Where did I find God? Where did I find the good in this day? And even if you're not spiritual, you can really use the concept as a mental wellness practice. Where did I find God? Where did I find the good in this day, even this really tough day? And that's what this day is about. The crux of what we're talking about is contemplation, and then putting contemplation into action. For me, the daily Examen is in a dog walk. I can't go a day without being outside. You don't like the outdoors? I love the outdoors, and I need it with my two puppies. And there is something about the immediacy of their need to sniff and smell and look and ponder that just grounds me to think about what the day was about. It lets me be introspective. And I see it sort of come out in my dreams. You know the time in your morning where you're waking up, but you're still dreaming? I process a lot that I sort of also thought through on my dog walk. And so then there's the concept of magis, which is the Latin word for the more. And it's really about what more can I do? So after I've examined, I've reflected, what more can I do for the betterment of the world and our human community? There's another Jesuit, his name is Pedro Arrupe. He's a Spanish Jesuit, and he ministered to the Japanese people during the bomb of Hiroshima. And he has sort of this beautiful quote, I don't know if you can see it, and this is a part of it, there's a longer version, but let me just read a bit of it. What you are in love with, what seizes your imagination will affect everything. It decides what will get you out of bed in the morning, what you will do with your evenings, how you will spend your weekend, what you read, whom you know, what breaks your heart, and what amazes you with joy and gratitude. Fall in love, stay in love, and it will decide everything. For me, this is really about purpose, about vocation. We all know that happiness is fleeting. Purpose and passion, they're really sustainable. Research shows, actually, that if we actively pursue happiness, we feel more unhappy and more lonely. And that finding meaning and purpose, that's really where we need to head. Happiness is fleeting. Purpose and passion are sustainable. For me, finding a vocation has been the most powerful way to love myself and to contribute. Both in volunteering, home, work, all of it bleeds together. For me personally, it is vocation. I have my entire career sort of organized people towards the same purpose, the same North Star, and it is that to get at systemic issues, and those kinds of things have really allowed me to get beyond like seeking happiness and really feel fulfilled with vocation and purpose. So really, I guess now I'm at this place. The next journey, it's aging. It's all about aging, right? And so I'm hoping that the tools I've learned with being present, loving myself, believing in blessed dissatisfaction, using the examine and magis, get me to like being okay with aging, menopause, neck never looking the way it did when I was 20, and really knowing that I've got probably 20 more years on the planet and I've got to make the best of it and really need to contribute for our human community. So I hope I have a renaissance like my Irish grandma, and I hope that I'm in awe of the sun's healing powers of my knees like my Polish immigrant grandma. So thank you.
Bravo.